Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I'm home. Today we're gonna make chilaquiles. We're gonna make this like the super simple way because I have all this. I have some leftover salsa, store-bought salsa. Well, I got it from the local Latin market, so it's really good stuff. This one's made with tomatillos, poblanos, cilantro, and serrano peppers. A little bit spicy, not too spicy. And then we also need a little bit of this Mexican sour cream and some eggs. Oh, chilaquiles, by the way, they are a breakfast staple in Mexico. So it's crisp fried tortillas, corn tortillas that you kind of toss with pureed salsa and typically served with eggs. So you can sort of think of it as like soggy breakfast nachos. That's how I like to think of it. One of my favorite foods in the whole world. So we got our tortillas. Today, like I said, I'm making it kind of the cheaty way, so I'm using store-bought tortillas. You don't want to use like the real, sort of the real generic supermarket brand tortillas, tortilla chips, because they tend to get kind of wet and like super soggy when you put them in this sauce, which is not what you want. You want some really sturdy chips. So if you can't get good quality store-bought chips where you are, you can just buy raw. Not raw, but buy soft corn tortillas and deep fry them for a few minutes until they in oil at about 350 degrees. Constantly agitate them, keep them going up and down in the oil so that until all the bubbles basically stop, and that will tell you that the moisture is driven off. And then you just set them aside on a paper towel drain, and you go from there. I'll probably do like a full version of this recipe at some point. But in the meantime, you can go to Serious Eats, find my recipe for green salsa, which is, basically what you would get with this store-bought stuff. But it's better when you make it yourself. Actually, I don't know. This store-bought stuff is pretty good. You just want to puree it till it's smooth, and that's it. I'm going to rinse this out with a little water. And I'm going to water that down just a touch. You do want it to be a little bit wet, because you see the chips are going to kind of soak in that stuff. And in the meantime, I'm going to get a pan going for my eggs. This is just some olive oil. I made some Spanish tortilla last night. You can find that video here. Alright, so you get a pan pretty hot. This is for your salsa. So what we're going to do is we're going to fry our salsa. This kind of just heats it up really quickly, but also adds a sort of intense flavor to it. Ready? So nice and hot. The oil's smoking now. That's one of the sort of tricks to really full flavored green salsa. By the way, it doesn't have to be green salsa. You can make this out of red salsa. You can make it fresh. You can use store-bought. It doesn't, it does make a difference, of course, in the flavor, but it's still going to be delicious no matter what, as long as you, as long as you like the salsa that you're working with. If you have like a good store-bought brand that you really enjoy, it's going to taste good. My wife and I have traveled to Mexico quite a few times, various regions, and this is always one of my top favorite breakfasts. All right. The best one we ever had, believe it or not, was in Cabo, which is not exactly where I would recommend going if you want to visit Mexico for the first time. It's a sort of, Cabo is sort of like Cancun, very, very spring break, touristy area. But my wife and I, while we were there, we found one place that was it was a restaurant, but it was literally a woman's house, and she had one table set up in her backyard and then her regular dining room table. So we found it just walking by one night, and she was making enchiladas. And so we went in and had enchiladas, and they were delicious. Her daughter was there doing homework at the table next to us. And we enjoyed it so much that we talked to her, and she basically told us she cooks what she cooks, and then whoever wants to eat it comes in and eats it. And so we ended up eating there like 3 or 4 times over the course of a 4-day trip there. A trip we had to make for visa reasons for my wife. But anyhow, those are the best chilaquiles I had, and she did them. She freshly fried the tortillas. She had salsa left over from the night before, and then she showed me this technique. I ended up cooking a few different things with her. But you basically get the salsa hot, you get the oil hot, you fry the salsa, you put in the chips, you fold them around, you let them soak up in there a bit. Alright, we're just going to let that go for a little bit while we fry our eggs. Let's do 2 eggs here. Make it a nice pretty plate. Bin. You can use whatever oil you want, or you can use butter. I'm just frying these in olive oil because I had it sitting there. So now I'm going to take my cream. You can use regular sour cream. If you can't get Mexican sour cream, you can take regular sour cream, season it with some salt, and add a little bit of milk to it, just to thin it out to the right consistency. We're going to kind of fold that in. You also don't have to put the cream in here. I like it that way. Sometimes I do it without, sometimes I do it with. Sometimes I do it where I just add it on at the end. It's really no right or wrong here. It's whatever you feel like. You do want to try not to break up the chips too much. So you see, if I'd been using just regular old store-bought chips here, by this point they would have been complete soggy mush. But these ones, they get that nice sort of cross between crunchy and soft, which is what I think is ideal chilaquiles texture. There's a video floating around YouTube. I'll put a link to it up here somewhere of a, I think it's someone's grandmother making red chilaquiles on like a big comal. It looks incredible, and I now want to make it my goal to get a comal like that so I can make chilaquiles like that. I'm going to save a little bit of salsa just to put on top of the eggs. There's also a video from, I think from Bon Appetit, where one of the cooks there makes something that looks incredibly delicious, but doesn't really look much like chilaquiles. I think it looks more like nachos. I'm just gonna do this little thing where I baste my eggs with olive oil. To get those whites kind of completely set up. Basting is a thing that I think is like a super, it's like one of those things that's a super common restaurant technique, whether for, steak or chicken or pork chops or eggs, that skillet basting, that is. People know what a turkey baster is, of course, but basting in a skillet like this is one of these things that I feel like happens in a restaurant a lot, but it doesn't happen so much at home. There we go. I love eggs like this where they're a little bit crispy and brown around the edges. And then they get all these nice puffy bubbles from the basting. Basted eggs. Salsa and the eggs. Oh, hold on a second. All right. Oh, sorry about that interruption. I shoot these videos frequently during my daughter's quiet time, which is where she's either allowed to be in her room drawing or or watching a video, and so sometimes she gets a little bored. You know, she has an hour of quiet time a day, and sometimes she gets a little bored and needs some help. Or sometimes she needs me to skip the credits so that she can go straight to the finding place on Tumbleweed. Oh, this is a radish, by the way. So I'm just gonna do some thin slices of radish, optional. Let's do some, but I like the garnish. I like the color of radish. Let's do a little bit of white onion also. So this guy I'm just gonna cut off a little ledge right there. Edge. Don't need too much. And finally, a little bit of cilantro. Cilantro was starting to look a little tired, so I put in some water to freshen it up. Trick with when you have herbs and water like this, one thing that you learn at a restaurant, pick them up and then kind of whack them down, and pick them up again, wipe off your board, and whack them down, and that'll get rid of the excess moisture pretty fast. Don't need the big stems. Little stems are okay in cilantro. Sometimes big stems are fine too. Sometimes you can just go ahead and chop up the whole thing. Rough chop. Some, of course, salt for those eggs. You know, you can do slices of serrano or jalapeno on here. You could, if you want, you could do, you know what I will do? I will find some. Pretty sure I have some, pretty sure I got some queso fresco in here. Queso fresco. Fresco changeo. You can do queso fresco. You can do cotija. You can do mozzarella. Really, there are no real rules here. If it sounds delicious to you, it's probably going to be delicious. All right. Now let us try some. So like I said, in this one I mix the cream in. You can also just drizzle the cream on top. Delicious, soggy breakfast nachos. Oozy egg. I love these. Seriously, like top five favorite breakfasts. I don't know what the other four would be. Right, should we have a little bit of cheese? Sit. Good girl. There you go, Mom. Back up, Shabu. Someone's. All right. I'm gonna try and get some more work done before my daughter's quiet time is over. So see you later.